No,
We
you
didn't get a red house.
Did
we
you
went
get a big
together.
girl
Yeah,
trip?
they
No.
had a large
Right.
snowplow on top of that mountain there,
Sean,
and you got that long
When
grate
you
and
back
just
at
keep
the
it up
office,
on there.
You're live.
how
Are we
much
ready?
trouble would it be for you to print the index pages for each of the sections of the policy?
Good evening, everyone. We're going to call
So I
this
can make
meeting
sure I
to
have
order
all the policies.
of the Hardy County Board of Education, and we're happy to be here in Moorfield Elementary School this evening in the library. So, Sheena, you want to?
Sure. Bow your heads, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the gifts and the talents that you've given all of us. And Father, we ask that you help us to use them to honor you and to do the good of our county and for our school system. We ask, Lord, that you're with everyone that traveled here this evening and that you take them home safely and the meeting is complete. We ask for your knowledge and wisdom in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Now, Doug, you want to do the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I love that little poodle up there. That's so funny, the purple poodle. Okay, so now introductions. Steve, we'll start with you and then go with Beth. It's not like we all don't know each other.
Josh Steve.
Jennifer Strodeman.
Roy Harper.
Janet Rose.
Melvin Shook.
Sheena Van Meter.
Sean Collars. Dixie Bean.
Doug Hatton.
Okay. Have a couple presentations this evening. Our first is Josh, and he's going to give us maintenance and transportation updates and go over the Moorfield Elementary School building quotations.
Yeah, so the floor quotes, I only have one so far. I think we emailed them out. Is that correct? Yeah, so we emailed those out. I reached out to a couple other companies. I have not got numbers back from them yet, but I'll keep following up until I get something on that. They kind of want pictures and see everything, so I'll have those by the next one. Well, I'm thinking it's going to be pretty close to the same price. Just looking at it.
There's a lot of square footage there.
It is, yes, it is. But it definitely needs something, for sure. And I think y'all are on the right track with turf. Was a good idea inside. Yeah. But that flooring is really nice. And if you wanted to see it, it's real similar to what's in the cafeteria. I don't know if I put that in the email. or not.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, it's pretty close to what we have here already.
The only thing I was concerned reading about this is that you have to prepare the concrete before they come.
And they're very detailed and specific about how they want it done. I mean, if you're off 1/10 of an inch or, all kinds of picky little specifications.
It's like, oh my, which I was kind of surprised, but I mean, people must be able to do it or they wouldn't. I mean, maybe because we don't have contractors that normally put this down, they'll help us out with that.
Yeah.
And, we might need to make sure that somebody does. So, but we appreciate you doing that.
I was digging back in some original notes from this building way back when, and Mr. Armitage had said something he was going to try or could obtain donations to get the flooring down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody remembered that or if he had followed through up on that or anything.
Yeah, he and I had talked about that. Oh, what is this? This is February, October, November, and he'd reached back out to, I think, Pilgrim's Pride, Woodmark again, and someplace else. I think the donations he was hoping to get would cover the cost of a turf-like thing or even get turf donated, because that's something he had looked at. I don't think he's going to get 100 and whatever the amount was of donations. I don't think that's something that he'll be able to get. Yeah, whatever that ends up being, almost $120,000.
And then if we have to finish the floor, it's going to be
Yeah, that's what,
considerably more.
oh, yeah. Oh,
Time
yeah,
you
it's
ground
gonna be
that
a
concrete
challenge.
smooth and all.
No, it's not smooth.
No.
No.
It's
It's
No,
gonna
where
pretty
those
rough,
expansion
actually.
joints are, and it was 2 different pours, so you
Right.
have that one joint that goes down the
Yeah.
middle, and
There we go.
I don't even know how
Probably
you do it.
150,000.
Hand grinder, I don't know how you get it that close. I really don't. I saw that as well.
I think we probably need to look at different types of flooring as opposed to maybe
Stuff
that
to
same
pull.
stuff, maybe
Oh,
a different.
absolutely. Have you seen that? Well,
That's a big floor.
it's a floating floor, just like a normal gym floor, but it has like, I mean, I've seen it at Lowe's and stuff where you can put it in your home.
Uh-huh.
It has kind of a cushion back in it. You know what
you're
I'm talking about?
like
The
a waterproof
slide
looking-
together. Yeah, it's like the
not a
LVP,
laminate, but,
but it's not a laminate.
yeah, I know what you're talking
I
about.
don't know if any.
There's different kinds of rubber flooring out there. I just don't know what would suit best. They have the ones that click together, the ones that look like a puzzle, the ones that, you can, that if you go over to the weight room,
Yeah.
wellness center, but,
You can't scrub those
no,
though, and
you
we've
can
got to
scrub them,
be.
but you have all of those
Well,
locations that it can go
It'd just
down
be
in.
gross.
Yes.
I mean, to me, it would be.
Me as well.
That's my personal
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we just need to look around and look at some different options.
I think if we'd have to do something like that and something that's not cushioned, that we would want to lay a normal floor like we would use, a tile or whatever would be.
Maybe we can get a quote on tiling it also.
Like the
Like the
tile
tile
that's
that's
out
out
here,
here?
not ceramic, right?
No, no, no.
Yeah.
just
Oh,
the
gosh,
tile
no.
that's out
Vinyl
here. Pop up, just maybe to have a comparison
Sure.
and get a couple different.
Either way, you'll have to level the floor out, I
Absolutely.
believe,
Yeah.
because it's,
Yeah.
it
Some,
wasn't
right.
finished
Some
very
places
smooth
are-
at all.
Yeah, you'd be able to
and
see it.
Coach A left that unlocked if we want to walk out there and look at it as well. The fire marshal will be in to do all the schools on Friday, and he's also going to do that building. So I have your building up, and hopefully we can get it passed on Friday.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
So we got to that point finally.
Good to know he's coming to town Friday.
Yeah, Cody, not now, but Cody. Yeah, oh, yeah. I'm gonna occupy him all day though, Mel.
Good.
Keep him busy.
Yeah, I'll keep him busy that day.
Do you
Yeah.
suppose there may be some vendors in Charleston that we could talk to?
Well, possible.
Could be, yeah. I'd say so. Well, Mr. Armitrott said something to me earlier about maybe reaching out to like Williamson and Shriver or one of the firms and just saying, could you give us some references on some folks that do flooring like that and have somebody we could use, I'm sure.
Because we don't
ZMN
even know
could help
what's
us.
out there.
Oh, yeah, ZMN.
Yeah, and ask
You-
them to
you
give us
Google
some
it.
ideas as to what
Yeah.
they
Everything pops up.
So who's going to do that so that, well, 5 of us are not, 6
Well,
of us are not
if-
pestering the same person?
We're working with ZMN.
Yeah.
Okay.
ZMN, right?
ZMM.
MM, two
Yeah.
M's, okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
we can easily
Yeah,
have them
why
give us some
don't you,
ideas.
you or Josh talk with them since they're actively employed with us and see.
Okay.
We've had some pretty harsh weather since the last time I saw you all. Transportation side of it, we did our research the best we could for opening and closing schools. It was, the back roads were pretty bad. But we got through it. The last cold snap, the only pipes we had freeze were at the board office. And then we had the downspouts here at the elementary school freeze. When they froze, it froze the thaw on the roof. We found one roof drain that was not a solid pipe. It had about a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch in the pipe. It went backed up. It came through. We had 8 different trash cans and took us a minute to locate it once everything got thawed out. But we were able to get that one fixed. But it was all because the downspout had frozen up and everything backed up. That's why it's never shown itself before. It just flowed right over top of it and wasn't an issue until there was standing water inside of it that just dropped down over the pipe. It was pretty bad. But other than that, the cold really didn't hurt us too bad on most of what we had come through, other than the amount of days we weren't in the schools.
I'm gonna tell them about, we had a bus driver that Took out some mailboxes we had to
Yeah,
get drug tested. And,
Yeah, yeah, it's already completed. We had one, it was last week. We did have to go back up and weld. It was one of the big metal that's on a post, in a neighborhood off, Rig West. It did damage the bus a little bit, but it knocked that completely off the post, and we were able to get, Andy Miller got a welder together, went up and welded it back into place for us, so we didn't have to purchase a new mailbox for him. But we got everything fixed up on that. Drug testing, got the results back today. He was negative, so it was a Southern driver.
You know how we were having problems with people stopping for the buses? Have you had any more cases
Yes.
since then?
Yes, and she is now CCing Sheena now on every single one of them.
And how many? We've
two,
had
two that I'm aware of
Yeah,
since
two
since
recently.
the last. Yeah.
We haven't been in school a whole lot, but there's been two recently.
sure.
Yeah, the pro officer reports that I usually give to you guys will have the ones from the east side on them because he always shares those on that end. But Arena's been copying me too. So I know we had one or two that was dealt with by Deputy Shipe that I'm not sure. I know one of them was a kid he talked to that didn't run through it but got close. And then we've had two recently that Arena has been reporting.
One was the 29th.
And one was
The
today.
Yeah,
No.
Well, we got it today.
We
It
got
was
it
the
today.
29th.
That's right,
It was a
okay.
tractor trailer right on Main Street. Ran it. But those go to Mel Burrows here in town with the town cops. So anytime it's in city limits, Mel gets them. The other side of the mountain, Shipe gets them. And then we changed it to Parker. Deputy Parker is the one that's going to get the rest of the county.
Okay.
Yeah. It used to be Smitty. She said she had it wrong, so we got Parker involved.
Okay.
So, yeah, those are our
Okay.
3 contacts that we're using.
Okay. Oh, will they put charges on those folks?
Yeah. Then the sheriff knows that that's what we were hoping to do with anybody that's from the sheriff and then the town, the chief of police knows. So we're in good shape on that.
Okay.
And I'll follow up and make sure.
And
I'll see if I can get a report from them as to how they handled it in the back end.
The sheriff takes care of that, not the state police.
No.
Sheriff.
Sheriff. I wanted to get it right. I think, I may have shared it with you when we got the results back on the gentleman that hit the girl at the fort.
Yeah, she did.
I don't want to tell him incorrectly.
Did,
They told us what they
Got convicted of 2 charges, lost his license for 60 days, and was fined $1,200.
That's a start.
absolutely.
It's pretty light
Absolutely.
for hitting kids, in my
Yeah.
opinion. It's pretty light for hitting kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah, considering he was killed.
Yeah, I agree.
I wish she wasn't.
I don't have any kicks about you all calling school off. I mean, it was difficult to travel, and we haven't had snow like that in so long, and people kind of get out of the habit of,
The main roads were great. The back
yeah,
roads that scared me. Those were the ones. And when we called the 2-hour delay early that day, and then we called it off later that evening, when I talked to the state road guys, they had a plow truck slide off the road as they were coming back to base that evening, and I called Doc and
yeah, it's just not worth it.
not.
Well, I'm sure your bus driver hit a patch of ice.
Oh, they all did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, there's more chains on buses than I've seen in years.
yeah. You'd hear them coming, clicky clack clicky. So, but it's hard.
Yeah.
And there are lots of people that are willing to criticize, but if you,
Well, you send them my way, because 32 years ago, in about a week, because school wasn't delayed or canceled, my wife died. So you send every one of them my way, and I'll tell them.
Well, and you're right. And we lost a teacher's aide on a delay, and then we had ice just hit, and we had a teacher's aide killed in a car accident last year, the year before, 2 years ago too.
now.
So I feel
Over
that
across the
fresh.
mountain.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I
On a bridge
can't relate
that
to what
was
you went
still
through,
icy,
but
yeah.
I know how I felt from this end when that happened, and it was rough. So
yeah, it's just not worth it.
no, it's not.
So,
The, filter people, do they do the interior filters also as well? Because I know Mrs. Campbell had it on a work order that her filters were dirty
The
interior.
filters aren't dirty.
Okay,
The
it's just the
filters are
grids.
clean. It's the cages.
Okay,
Yeah, and my guys don't clean cages. So I told her she needed to get her
Okay.
custodians to clean
All right.
those. Yeah.
I'm just
'Cause
curious.
I ran right over there.
Making sure
that
the filters
morning.
were checked.
Yeah.
So who's gonna clean the cages?
It'd be the custodians.
Okay.
Yeah, maintenance. They'll clean.
How do they clean them, Josh?
They'll have to take them down. You have your, I mean, I'm just thinking of your home, where your intakes are, you know, you get a build up on it, you have to scrub them. You know, there's not just wiping them down, it doesn't come off, you have to take them off and actually scrub them.
Yeah,
So
it's
they're-
kind of
they'll have to do
greasy.
it, and they're in the cafeteria,
Oh,
yeah, so those are the,
be
Yeah.
greasy, yeah.
Yeah.
Gone,
Yeah.
power spray.
yeah. That might be the
Gotta do what we
point
gotta do.
that we hit over spring break, if they get some time, that they can, yeah. Being that it's in the cafeteria, I don't want them doing it during the middle of the day, pulling those things down.
Oh, yeah.
They're feeding them
Get all
two
that
times.
dust.
Yeah.
I saw a bus go through town the other day on the mud flaps had an advertisement. Is that allowed on buses now?
No, you can't have any advertisements on anything.
Okay.
Was it one of ours?
What number was it?
Don't know who it was.
Who were they advertising?
Harley Davidson. But
Harley Davidson. That should be pretty easy.
We can
to
narrow
find
it
then,
down.
shouldn't
I would have guessed.
it? Yeah, I will locate it tomorrow.
I just didn't,
Yeah,
I didn't
will
think it was
locate
allowed
tomorrow,
anymore.
Yeah. I don't walk behind buses or ride behind them very often, so yeah, it
Well,
takes,
just
it
call
takes
my eye
everybody
behind
talking to me to let me know when things are out
Our
there.
job here's done now.
Yeah.
Hey, I know your electric
That
bus
makes
hasn't
sense.
came yet. Do you have information or a contract with them? Because there's other states that are really not using those buses now, and then they're ending up having to pay for those buses because of the contract they signed to use those.
We don't have
buses.
any contract with them at all.
You have nothing other than,
No, nothing other than it was one sheet of paper requesting. The governor, when they brought it in, it was, I want to say 47 buses when they brought in that plan. The state of West Virginia bought 47 buses. They then were giving them away.
right,
So we requested a bus. From that point, that's all I know. We had nothing in it. The only thing we'll have to pay for is the charger and putting in that 200 amp breaker for the charging station. The new guy Chuck, I talked to him the other day along with the lady down there. They pushed us way back. That plant's been like all kinds of bad has happened. I don't know if it's the turnover on the national level or what, but he says there's counties that are ahead of us, but if we could get everything in place that we needed, the charger and our drivers trained, we could jump the Cabell counties that really don't need those buses. But I saw during that cold snap, it was close. I think right over in Virginia, there was three of those electric buses that burned up at the charging
yeah, they
station.
did, I saw that too.
Three of them.
Wow.
And I think that's why some of the other states and counties aren't starting to run them, and that was the thing. But there was some kind of agreement with the EPA that they had to use them so much.
Yeah.
And if
So
they didn't use
this
them,
isn't an EPA grant.
well, I know
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
but I'm saying somewhere down the line, if there would be
Yeah.
something like that come through.
Well, we don't want that
You might wanna
charging
just make
station
sure.
right next to the building, do we? Unless we want to build a new board of ed.
In Virginia.
I can't remember. I can find it.
Yeah, I
They,
can't
they
remember.
sent
I
it
didn't
out. I can
realize
find it.
that.
I can probably find
Well,
it.
no,
before the end
I
of
mean,
the
it was
meeting.
more of a metropolitan.
Yeah,
like
it was a larger
Fairfax,
area.
Alexander.
Why did they burn up? Because it
I
was
don't know.
so
I didn't read
cold.
into it. I just saw
I mean-
three electric buses burned up. They were right beside of each other. I'm sure it was one that jumped to
Yeah.
the next. Yeah. Yeah. But it was during the cold snap as well. I don't know if that had something to do with it. Just
When it's cold like that, they have to leave them blood.
they have to leave them plugged. Yeah. Yeah. Once they drop below 80%, they then have to charge them. Yeah. If they're 80% or above, they don't have to even plug them in.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we weren't committed.
No.
If we didn't use it somewhere along the line, that we owe 300,000 for that bus, so we're not going to use.
No.
Well, what would be
Surprise,
different
free
with the training? I mean,
So
they
it
wouldn't
has
have a
it has
jake
the
brake?
regenerative braking. So the
Okay.
regenerative braking is how the bus charges itself again while you're driving it.
Right.
Yeah. So they come here and whichever driver, so I was thinking the mechanics, myself, and whoever the primary driver is going to be, and maybe some of the subs, we get the training so we can go over the regenerative braking, and then we can distribute that information out if somebody else drives the bus at some point in time. Yeah, that's the main reason, just the regenerative braking. Nothing else on the bus is really any different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know that those batteries aren't the most stable in the whole world. You saw in the hurricane, there were places that were burning that had started from the water getting into the car, into the cars. So it's like, well,
The biggest thing about having that bus in our books is that the allowance that we will receive from just that one bus is like having 3.5 brand new buses on the lot because of the cost. So that's the only one.
yeah.
I mean, we've been there, and it's 3.5 more buses, and it's.
Well, and maybe that'll catch us up to where we
It'll
didn't
help, for
buy
sure.
buses and our fleet value was below what it should have been.
And our enrollment went up again. So I did put in for 2 more buses as well because of the enrollment.
Mhm.
And I think we already had one of those while I've been here in my 4 years.
Uh-huh.
And they're free, correct?
That's correct.
We get
Well,
them for free.
They give you enough money usually to cover the cost
Yeah,
of the bus.
and
I
I
think is how it
requested
works.
2 of the large transits. So they'll be the same, just like the electric bus. So we might be able to just, say we have one.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Josh? Okay, thank you. And now Jennifer's up on the EL updates.
Yes.
We have a couple handouts here.
I have everything outlined and streamlined for you, very focused. EL overview 24-25. There we go. This would be just, I've never really given an update on EL. I mean, we've talked about it, but here is just an overview outline of concise information that was 100% current as of 10/17/24, because that's when the numbers and everything are pulled for the, count. All right. As you can see, when we talk about active and monitored, a student in EL is monitored when he or she would test out on the ELPA test, show that they are proficient in English. But by federal guidelines, you have to monitor them for 2 years to see how they're still doing. So the EL teachers at the school do this. If the student is transferring, like from Morford Elementary, 2nd grade, they test out going into 3rd grade, then all the files are transferred and the teacher at Morford Intermediate then does it. So you have a total of, and you can see the numbers. Morford Elementary has the most EL students in the county. That gives us a total of 160 active and 21 monitored. Because I'd forgotten, we have an EL student who is being monitored as well at East Hardy Elementary School. So I wrote that on everyone's paper too.
What does that mean, monitor?
It means that they have to still be, for 2 years, we have to check
Okay.
their grades, how they're doing, to see if they're still being successful without officially getting the EL services. Yeah.
The 20 have tested that.
21.
21.
21.
Yeah, okay.
21. Last year at this time, well, I'll just say the numbers change a lot. The students move in, they move out frequently, although I did log in today and check, and they're pretty, even though students have come and gone, the numbers are staying pretty much consistent to this. They're still very close to this. We might have a few more, but not many. Last year at this time, at the October 1 count, we had 139 students who were active, and now we have 160 officially, and that's how the funding is based, on the number you have active at that October 1 enrollment date. Languages. There are so many, there are 20 different languages. I didn't list them all. I listed the most common ones here. And with the Spanish, there's so many different dialects. And one thing that we're finding that I didn't put on here is that we get students who are coming to us from like Guatemala or Ecuador or Honduras who are coming from mountain villages where they speak a tribal dialect. So it's not even Spanish. It's like Quiche, which isn't, a lot of the languages aren't written. They're just tribal dialects. And they're coming here. And so they're learning Spanish because so many of their friends here are speaking Spanish. So they're learning Spanish and English at the same time. So they're learning essentially English as a third language. Just to put that in perspective. Not that the State Department of Education for West Virginia puts it into perspective when they rate us on how our kids are doing and learning English, but it's just a factor that we're kind of unique to here in the state. All right. As far as proficiency levels, that they're proficient when they test out on the ELPA test, which is the test that shows how well they have mastered the English language with speaking, writing, reading, and what would the other one be? I can't remember. Listening. Yes, listening. They have to test out of all those areas to be considered proficient. We've had 9 students who have met that proficiency level, which would be 8% of our population. Now, 64% of them are emerging, showing growth. And the federal government, and by all guidelines, ideally in a perfect world, say that they should test proficient within 5 years. They come here speaking no English and they should test out in 5 years, which is with students learning everything else and English on top of it. So that would be the student proficiency levels and what is looked for. LIEP, which would be our instructional models. For Hardy County, you have a mix. And as you go to the schools, you'll see it's different in each school. And it depends on your student population makeup, the level that the kids are in or at with their English, and the principal working with the EL teacher to come up with the plans that work best for those students. So you'll have a mix of push in, teachers will be in the classroom with the students. You'll have a mix of pull out. We have a lot of pull out because the teachers really try to focus on helping the kids learn those English language skills. Sheltered instruction, which is the SIOP model, which is essentially just really good instruction, meeting the kids at their level where they are and what they need. And all of your EL teachers are fully SIOP trained and certified, which is a good thing. Immersion, Moorfield High School is running a very good immersion model program. And so is Moorfield Middle, especially with an 8th period with Ms. Poling. There we go. You have a total of 4 EL teachers here in the county, 1 at EL, all the Moorfield schools. And then you have an EL interventionist to provide additional supports here at Moorfield Elementary, and an EL interventionist at East Hardy to serve the 3 students who are active EL students there, and the one who is on monitor. But Mrs. Poling, the way the EL teachers are, Ms. Poling is in charge of the students at East Hardy officially because it has to be a certified EL teacher. She has the smallest number of total EL students. She's officially in charge and does all the paperwork with the EL interventionist at East Hardy.
Jennifer, what is the difference between a teacher and an interventionist?
An interventionist is not a certified teacher. At least the 2 ladies we have doing it are not. Yeah, they're not.
Are they like aides or?
They're not full-time either. These positions are not full-time. They just provide additional hours to meet the federal requirement of giving the EL students English instruction.
They just work within the curriculum or?
The EL interventionists that we have are doing exclusive pull-out, especially at East Hardy, because the kids are really low. They're like level 2 with their English, and they work one-on-one with them just on acquiring English skills and conversation. So anyway, your EL teachers are extremely trained. You have 4 really good ladies who are doing a super job. They are super trained. They care about their kids. They work as a team. They've really grown, and I love working with your EL teachers. And it is they work closely with the school principals. It's crucial that the principals make sure that all the plans and paperwork are in place for the EL students. Your teachers make sure all that is in place. Your teachers do PD for all the teachers in the building at whatever level they need it. They answer questions, work one-on-one. One thing that's been super popular, and many other teachers, not just EL teachers, are actually participating in this, would be coffee talks, which would be a series of after-school sessions. There are 6 of them throughout the year. I think we have 8 teachers in them this year who are not EL teachers, which is a big deal. And then they're taking the skills that they're getting and, using it in their classrooms with their EL students. It's after school done by a lady who's a really good EL trainer. What else on EL? You can see their testing information on the second page. And on that, you get this proficiency is called what our scores are for our EL students on the GSA, which is not English specific. It's the regular summative test that all the kids have to take. This is where they're falling, at least last year where they fell. So they still have to test on that. But we're also really looking at their English scores, which would be 8% proficient, 64% still are emerging. We do have many EL students who have IEPs as well. And here are your numbers. You have 31 total EL students who also have IEPs. And those are the numbers broken down by school. For family and community engagement, we have, language and communication. It's a big deal. We have the Proprio service, which Pilgrim pays for us. And that is really good because that means that everybody can use it and not just for, an EL teacher calling home. We can all use the Proprio service because they pay for it. It's not paid for out of federal funds. And it gets used. We get a monthly bill. They call, they set up meetings. They have different translations depending on the language. If it's a common language, you can call right then and get it done and have a meeting one-on-one or a phone call. If it's a more unique language, then you schedule an appointment and you set up the meeting and you have a translator there to have the parents and do the meeting with you right then.
Mr. Storm, do the students, I remember when Laura Ramirez, I guess.
Yes,
Laura,
Ms. Kessner.
she used to have to take 2 tests. They still have to do that?
They still have to do that.
That one time, she wasn't going to do the one until I talked her into it because she had already passed the one.
Mhm.
And she said, why do I have, I understand, where she was coming from. She was good enough to do it, but
Well, trust me,
that to me doesn't make
it's
sense.
very frustrating, but
You would also
they
think
don't budge.
that if a kid is classified as an English language learner, when you get them, whatever, if they have to take the ELPA and we're continuing to instruct them with teachers, those scores count in a subgroup in our other GSA tests. So
Right,
they're judged
Yeah.
on that
Oh,
separately.
they do.
But then once they test out of the ELPA, meaning they're proficient in English, we've done a really good job of teaching them
Right.
that. They get pulled out of the subgroup after their monitoring year,
Mhm.
so we don't get credit for them as being
We
successful
don't
anymore,
get
even though they're
credit for
still
them doing
a
a
second
good
language
job.
learner. They don't count on the GSA when they get mastery or they're proficient under ELA or math or any of those areas. They don't continue to be a positive for us. They drop off as an
Yes.
EL kid. So really, we're only getting counted on the ones that aren't proficient. If that makes sense. Like, except for the one
That's a
time
good
that
way
they
to
are.
put it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good way to put it.
It's just, you would think those kids
get
would, as
double
long as
hit.
they're in our system, we
Yeah.
would get credit. Like, you did a great job. These kids are still proficient in English. You got them there. They're an EL kid and they're taking this other test, and we only get credit for them when they're not doing well.
Yeah.
It's the
Have
nuttiest
you
thing.
talked to the state
Oh,
about it?
we
Every
talked to the
year.
state multiple times in person. They just look at
They
me like,
don't understand
What?
because most of
What?
the counties don't have.
We
Don't
are
have
foreign
to
unique.
languages. We are so
Except
Our
unique.
what,
county-
Hardy and Berkeley and Jefferson maybe?
Hardy, Berkeley, Jefferson, Monongalia.
Okay.
Kanawha,
We
some.
have more than Kanawha, and we have more EL students than Cabell County. Percentage-wise, Hardy County has the biggest percentage of ELs in the state. We're like 10% of our student
And I
population.
think we have the
is
largest
EL.
number of languages.
Pilgrims.
We have the largest number of languages.
Because when we
yes.
call and we talk about our EL
Yes.
kids, they think your kids are speaking
Spanish.
Spanish.
And we go, no, we need
No, that's not
Peachy.
just
And they're
Spanish.
like, what?
Yeah, they don't understand
Yeah.
what we're doing.
Wonder how many Rockingham County, Virginia has.
They
There's-
have a lot. I've
They're
met with
probably
their
higher
lady.
than ours.
Yes, they have 10. Yes, they have a lot. Their funding is different too, but yes.
They seem to do a really good job in Rocky. I'm not, we do too, considering, I mean, I don't see how they do it. I couldn't, because I can't speak a no comprende, and, you know, we have French, which that doesn't help you.
It doesn't
Not
help.
much.
Although we
No.
have some Haitian Creoles. And then we have one young lady at Moorfield High School who speaks French, which is super neat. I've met and
Oh,
talked with
one of
her.
the
Yes.
EL,
Yeah.
okay.
She's from Haiti, but she speaks French, not Haitian Creole. Go figure. Yeah. So, yes.
A couple questions about the
Uh-huh.
budget. Are any of the amounts that are listed
I
here
bet the government has unlimited funds too.
used?
Federal government.
Yes, this
No.
funding, well, I will give Morgan C a plug. She's the county parent liaison and she really works hard and heavy with EL families. So that is a plug, for us and for her. This funding is, this Title III fund amount, it's earmarked specifically for EL. You have to spend it for EL supports. But there's a glitch, there's a hitch.
Are the parents supportive of the EL kids for the most
I'm
part?
sorry, what?
The parents of the EL students, are they supportive of
Yes,
the school?
yes,
Very much. They value
Very much.
education.
Yeah.
yes.
Well, it's a ticket for them. I remember we had the one student and he was telling us how much it would be worth in Mexico. I forget the boy's name.
Raul,
Raul, that's him.
Oh, yeah.
He was so
Mexico,
proud. He was so proud of that.
tourism. You want to
Yes.
do tourism.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, they go home and teach their folks and their families.
Parents are very appreciative of.
they are. They're very
education.
supportive. The parents are. This money, this $36,000 amount can be spent on supplies
Okay.
to support EL instruction. If you need something special or you need additional books, it can be spent for professional development to train teachers or get them extra help. It can be spent for those types of things. It can be spent on EL support for the summer. It can be spent on EL support for after school, but it cannot be spent on any personnel to teach EL during the school day.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
That's what I was.
Yeah, that's the downfall. It can be used for those things, but we can't pay for an EL teacher or an EL interventionist with it, period. The state EL funds are pretty much non-restricted. You can use it for anything for EL. And Pilgrims gives us generously like $10,000 every year to pay for the translation. And they pay for our EL after school that we did and do, which is also super helpful. All right, so action plans and future goals. We're working on getting, in a nutshell, we're working on and going to have it in our county plan for next year to get additional EL professional learning time for our teachers during the day with a lady who does the coffee talks will come and do in-person sessions with our whole staff. And it's a big need for the county. And then just the last part says that we are in compliance and how we're in compliance and what we do. Yeah, EL is a very big beast for Hardy County Schools. So,
Do you want to touch on that at all?
and then you have, and going along with this, the immigration statement from the Department of Ed. And basically, it says, well, here's our quick interpretation, and then it'll say more. If someone from ICE immigration comes to the schools at this point in time, they will be directed to the superintendent to verify and confirm exactly what paperwork documentation they have, because there are different types of warrants, different levels of warrants, and we go from there.
So we have a little more time and are limited in what we have to do if it's an administrative ICE warrant versus if it's a warrant signed by a federal judge. And those two things we have to handle differently. But the good thing is if that were to happen and they would show up at a school, we can just say, hang on, we have to get our attorneys to review all your paperwork, have a seat. And then I'm called in, the schools are all
Yes.
directed to call me on my cell phone. They all have my number, call me and get me here. And then I take that information and I would send it to an attorney that would look at that and determine this is a federal warrant. You have to comply and give them X, Y, and Z. There's still things that they can't have. Or no, that's an ICE warrant. You don't have to share this, and this with them. You don't let them down the hallway. So there's just different things that they are allowed to do versus, based on what that warrant looks like. So that's our guidance.
Have
I
you
will
had
tell
any
you-
so far?
Have we had anybody here?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. Mhm. No, but we have families that are
Parents are
stressed
worried.
about their kids being picked up at, So
Different-
we have some virtual programs that we're
I know of at least 4 who've gone virtual, EL students, since
Just so they
in the
won't be
last
here
week.
in case.
Yeah, and I know a lot of them have said, well, the one lady that I talked to came to the board office, she said, I'm documented, I have all my paperwork, I have
She's
no
scared.
concerns about that, but I'm
Last
scared because of
Mhm.
my last name, and I have a friend who they picked them up. She had a friend in a different state, and I don't know if it was, I can't remember where she said, but anyway, they came in and picked them up and took them all and then sorted it out later and then
Oh.
left them wherever they had taken them to, and then they couldn't get back to kids, and so they're very afraid of what could happen. So there's a lot of stress on the families. So we're just trying to support them, let them know we have a plan in place. That's all we can do right now is just have a plan should somebody show up and
In time, they will.
follow our
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Okay, next on the agenda are public comments, and I don't think we had any this evening. Next up is consent items, board minutes from January 21st, 2025, attachment
approve.
2.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the consent items. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, and we're approved 5-0. Unfinished business. It's the approval of the student attendance policy.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. With discussion, I looked through this again because I think that you said this was sent down from the state.
Yes, that's correct.
Well, somebody from the state needs to be reminded that there's spell check and grammar check and all of that.
Did we miss something on your last
Well,
correction?
on page 5, there is one, but I'm just going to talk about content stuff, and I'll give this stuff to you. Okay. It says, it's page 44 in our packet. It says that we shall employ a certified county director of attendance, which I know Jody.
40, what did you say it was?
44.
44, okay.
It's that last paragraph.
Okay, we're looking at different pages then. Because mine's, what is the policy number?
Here you go.
39.
Oh, okay, yeah, she's got 5, I've got.
So we
yeah,
will,
39. Okay, got it.
okay.
39 on our end.
And then we go on to Hardy County Board of Ed, staff shall, and then you go into all those numbers, and they're all sentences, and they don't have periods after them, and then some don't even have capital letters.
Okay, all mine have periods.
All mine have periods.
Well, maybe I
1
have a
through
wrong
7?
copy or something.
But
Was that from the last? Maybe it is, and maybe it's stuff that was corrected already. So let me give you this. Maybe.
Yeah, I bet that was fixed between last time and this time. Yeah, that's why the
Okay.
page numbers will be different.
Okay, here you go.
Yeah.
It's all flagged. So
We'll double check.
thank you all.
Yeah, we'll cross-reference you.
Okay, so we're ready to vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, and it's approved 5-0. New business, I don't think we had any. And board member superintendent discussion, no action may be taken. Do you have the pro officers?
I do not. I
Reports.
have not received that from them yet, which today's the first day back of the new month, so they just haven't sent me January's yet. But I'll get it, and what I'll do is I'll email it to you as soon as I get it, and then we can put it on to discuss at the next meeting if you guys have any questions.
Okay,
I do have my goal
I'll look at those today.
split, my goals. I have an update for you on there. In red, it's double-sided. So I just went through and tried to touch on
Thank you.
the objectives and kind of tell you where we are. We're finishing up the second benchmark, so we'll be able to tell you the growth from the first and second at the next meeting. Bonnie Price is going to come and update you on that. But just to kind of review a few things, we have been utilizing our learning teams again to look at student data and to adjust anything that is determined as targeted by the teachers to help increase how the students are performing. So we also have implemented the use of the banners that you see hanging on the outsides of buildings. And they're very nice. I think they look very professional and well done. And so after this next round of benchmarks, whoever has shown the most growth will redistribute those around the county. Everybody has enough room to hang however many they had, thanks to the maintenance fellas and Josh for going and drilling holes in the building for me, whether they were excited about it or not. They look nice on the buildings, and the schools are proud of them.
Well, we need to break our schools up
We do.
because I'm proud of our schools.
We do for
and,
sure.
you know, they do a good job.
Yeah. And we've been trying to put, academic stuff on the social media page too. And I'll just give you an example. They're working within their schools on different things too. We kind of challenge them to make it a little bit of friendly competition. And I know you've seen like the attendance, for example, Moorfield High School's competed with East Hardy and then Petersburg. And then I think most recently Kaiser, and they were excited because they beat
Yeah, they had
Kaiser by
those
like a half a
letters.
percentage or
Yeah,
something.
the A.
Yeah. They've been doing all their stuff. And then Mr. Armentrout and Mrs. Walker divided the school into two teams and challenged them to make the most growth on their benchmark. So there's a group of classes that are Mrs. Walker's and a group that are Mr. Armentrout's. And they were just arguing out here. Mr. Armentrout says he's beaten her by 3 points. And she says she hasn't seen the numbers. She's doing the math herself because she doesn't believe he's going to tell the truth. But they were joking about it. And the loser gets a pat of the face in front of the kids on Thursday.
Oh.
So she said the kids are walking down the hall looking at her going, Mrs. Walker, you're going down. So they're getting into it and very excited about it. So they've been doing things like that within the school to try to push themselves. I know Moorfield High School has a huge growth in English 10 benchmark numbers. So I'm told, very excited about that, like over 100 points on that.
Wow.
I think they've got a phenomenal English teacher. He's working really, really hard to motivate kids. And so he's done some really good things. And so they're trying to find out from him, what did you do? And sharing that with the rest of the building.
What is the teacher's name?
Mr.
Okay.
Kincaid?
It's not
No.
Kincaid. No, he's math.
I can see him, tall, young, skinny guy, but
brand new
his name
teacher,
is
just out
going.
of college. Phenomenal.
I've
I'm
heard
really excited about
Somebody
it.
else talk about how good he is.
Yeah, he's figured out a
But I
secret
can't
recipe
remember
to
his name.
success. So I'll get the name for you. I hate that I can't remember it off of the top of my head, but he's doing a really good job. So she said they were working with him.
First year teacher?
Trying to figure out what he was doing, and he said it's taken him the first semester, but he said he was rolling with them.
Another
so
wheel on that.
really, really
That's good.
Kids like him a lot. So we're doing all of those things, and so our approach this year, I think, is working, and I hopefully we'll continue to see, a little bit of a jump here this next round. The last one, the second goal is the fiscal one, which we talk about a lot, and right now we're on track to exceed our 5% of expenditure cuts, and hopefully things will go well once we get our new HVAC system in at Moorfield Middle. I think that will hit us pretty hard. Our virtual program has really helped the reduction in the cost we were spending on that program versus the new one. And then the kids that we're being able to get back and bring in based on that has really helped. So I think East Hardy Elementary in its own building is up 40 students this year from when we start there. They've increased up 40 kids enrollment, and overall we're up. And we looked at that the other day, and I didn't write it down for you. I meant to do it before I left, but from when we started the year to now, we're up a good many kids. So we're hoping to really build that up so that when we lose that class of Moorfield High School kids, that is the big class, probably about 35 kids off the top, unless we get them in pre-K to balance it out, I think we'll feel that. But right now, I think we've, at least at East Hardy Elementary, we've made that number up. So we'll see where we go. But anyway, all kinds of notes there. Feel free to take a look at that. I'll answer any questions that you have now or through email or next meeting, however you want to do that. I do have a legal settlement discussion I need to have with you in executive session, but we can do that at the conclusion of the meeting if you would like. We've wrapped some things up I need to update you as a board on. And I believe that's all I had.
Okay.
No cuts from the state government yet?
Not yet. Not yet.
This is just a little handout I printed about the insurance, the increase on that. I'd asked Sarah some time ago what we had paid last year, and she was trying to give me a breakdown per employee. And that isn't what I wanted. I'd like to know just the total amount of money we spent on insurance premiums and PEI.
Wait a minute.
Shouldn't have to break it down by
Dixon needs
employee,
one,
just that
Jen.
total
Thank you.
amount.
I didn't know if it looked like it was
And
two
how much of
pages.
that percentage is
So,
state funded.
Yours got cut off, that's
Sure will.
Just curious, because it's 14% increase, I believe, in state employees.
Yeah.
And this is just a handout about Josh's electric bus.
This is not for employees.
pretty
Yeah,
substantial
just
increase.
total dollars spent. Need a break.
I'm surprised it's not more than that, honestly. I guess they don't figure they can get away with it. It's awful.
Here you go, Dixon. That's a little
Thank
bus.
you.
And I have one more thing before we jump off of that. Should have written it down. I brought the copies, but didn't write it down. This is from Moorfield High School, and I'm sharing this with you because they shared it with me, and I felt like it was important to pass it on because it's important to them. We, as you know, have changed Moorfield High School's schedule and have requested that they change. And I say we, the central office, after lots of review and thought and looking at personnel, had requested that Moorfield High School work with a scheduling professional to re-examine their schedule and change it from a 4-block to an 8-period day. And so they've moved that schedule around for next year and are doing such. However, they did a survey within the school because they had a lot of feedback that they wanted to share. So this is their feedback. Now, there are a couple positive things in here. The majority of it is in favor of 4 blocks. So I don't know if they'll, want to come and talk to you all personally as a board and ask you to give them permission to change it back. Right now, my recommendation to you is going to be to leave it 8-period day because we can get so many more courses taught out of it. But I felt like I needed to share that with you because it's really important to them that you understand how they feel. So I'm sure Mrs. Campbell will answer any questions that you have about the nature of how this was done. I think she sent out a link and allowed them to put their responses into the Microsoft forms and survey. So you'll see that there are some of them that have large things that they've written and others just have some comments, but 5 for the traditional 8-period and 32 for the 4-block was their breakdown of people that voted. I do believe they also had some parents that participated in this survey, but I think it tells you when they start talking. So
Okay, thank you.
sorry, I forgot that part.
You said block was great for PE, wasn't it, Josh?
I love it.
It depends on the teacher. Some teachers can do it, and some teachers waste half.
Yeah.
Charlie Combs did great with it. But there are teachers that really struggle with that.
Well, and right now it really comes down to if you're teaching, 8 blocks a year,
It's a
you're
lot.
really teaching 6 classes. Where
Right.
if you're teaching 8 periods a day, we can get that extra.
Yeah,
We're going to get 7 out of you, and you multiply that times 12 teachers. That gives you a lot of extra periods
Mhm.
and allows us to, do what we need to do with personnel. And I hate that that's the way that we have to look at things, but
who actually, the scheduling, is there some kind of program now through the state that actually,
no, we worked with a lady. Well, they're doing their own schedule, but we had an advisor come in and
McCarty Perez,
thank you.
who is a scheduling,
Guru.
this
She's
is what
really
she
good.
does. She travels across
better
the
than
country.
you?
Oh, much better. She sees things in ways that I don't know how she comes up with it. And Mr. Keaton. that's
Mr.
his name.
Keaton, that's the
I knew it
name.
had a
Thank
K.
you. Mr. Keaton is the English teacher that had really good scores. So
Okay.
I'm sure Mr. Hines, you could have looked at the schedule and done the creative things too. But this lady has a brain like yours, and some people are just gifted with that. Like they can see.
Well,
The possibilities.
actually, Linda Wright is too.
Oh, okay.
She really
Okay.
is.
Well, they did. I mean, they've done their own master schedule now and worked through some different options and finalized it. But I think they'll be okay.
There definitely is a knack to it. Remember that time you got me in trouble? We were.
Yes, sitting at a meeting, we got yelled at.
You two talking at a meeting.
Yeah, we were.
Max,
Soccer.
together.
We were talking quiet, but that person did, I forget.
It was a training, we got yelled at.
That's all I had. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Thank you.
go ahead.
I need to ask, the invoices, the checks that have already been paid, so I know that we can't do anything, or we would, $34,428 electric bill. How in the world do our buildings use $34,000 worth of electricity?
It's a square footage.
And there was a 26,000
And you figure with
also.
the cold spell, and cold weather,
What,
That
you
made
went
it a
back
lot
for another
worse.
one? You
Yeah,
found
there was
one?
another one on 26,000
but these
also.
chickens.
Oh, okay.
We're recording really good.
I'm serious. If our bills are running that high, how are we, I don't know. That just seems really,
Whatever happened to our energy people that were gonna come and,
So
Yeah.
we have to put it out for bid, but we did go ahead and there was a solar opportunity that we had to lock in by,
did you
Yeah,
see?
you already
yeah, we
did
locked
that.
it in so that we can look at the solar opportunities, but we just have to decide if we're gonna put it out for bid and then let those folks come in. All of them will bid on it, and then we'll have to look and determine which company we want to use and then let them go through and decide.
so where are we waiting? Now, where are we in that process? Say it again.
It was Sal and what was the other one? Sal and, CMT.
CMP or Schneider?
Schneider and
Schneider was
CMT were the two that we've talked
And then
to.
CMP was Sal, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, Sal just called me today.
Okay.
If we had any kind of update.
Okay, so the last thing that we did, Janet, I guess right before Christmas break, after they had come in, was made sure we locked in the solar thing. We haven't done anything further with them thus far. They told us that we were one of the better school systems that they'd ever looked at as far as our energy consumption, that we were doing a lot of the things that they would recommend. So the next big steps would be the solar. We talked to them about, we'd already proceeded too far along in the Moorfield Middle School HVAC project to cut out what they recommended as the what's the underground water geothermal, which was something I was super interested in. If you remember, we had the Schneider people in. We're too far into our agreed upon project to go back and change it without it costing us, I think, a chunk of money. But we can put it out for bid if you guys are sure that's what you're ready to do.
What kind of savings would that give us?
You
We
don't
don't
know.
No, you don't.
But is nobody else, I know I'm beating a dead horse, because I've beat this horse before, but it just seems that's an incredible electricity bill.
Yeah. I mean,
But you know, when you really think about it, like I said, the schools, so much stuff goes on at schools. And you can't have someone there all the time, the public's not gonna practice energy efficient.
No, I was at a basketball game last night at the middle school, and when we left, the door was standing wide open.
Yeah.
Come on, folks.
You'd
We're
have
not
to
trying
have
to eat
you'd have to have a
Hardy County.
energy cop. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Isn't someone supposed to be on duty when the building's being used?
Game manager.
Yeah, you probably
Game
got those there.
manager.
There's probably the
That was
gyms about
Well,
Moorfield Youth. So there's.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we
Yeah.
It's a
yeah,
town
we wouldn't for
entity.
that.
I mean, the gym was very comfortable. It was nice and warm. And then you walk out and there stands that doorway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until they, if we can put it out for a bid, then you'll have all of those companies come and pitch you this is how we do it. Then you have to pick one. And then once we pick one, those folks will do a deeper version of what they've already done for you. They go through and they give you the little books and they say, these are the things you could do. This is a project we would fund for you. And in turn, you're going to save X amount of dollars.
Look at the bright side, Jan. At least it's not $50 million for condoms in Gaza.
So,
Well, maybe they don't need the electricity there. They stay warm other ways.
but if you all want me to put that out for bid, we can do that. I mean,
And Hardy
There's just
County's
a
not
lot
paying
of-
for
I
that.
mean,
I mean, I personally would hold off until we see what's going to happen with the government, with the government funding. And I agree with you. I would die of a heart attack if I got an electric bill.
Well, you don't have that kind of buildings to,
Right.
but still.
I mean, it's been between 17 and 20,000.
Right.
And as cold as it was, we don't know what time period this takes care of. And
you don't want your pipes to burst.
131, I think, was the date on it. I don't remember the date on it. And I don't, well, here.
But it's difficult. But I think until we see how things, me personally, I think if we wait and see how things are going to settle, I hate to get in the middle of a project and go, geez, Dix, why in the world did you put your nose in this one, and until we get a little idea.
Yeah.
All right, here's the 1213, and it was 26,000. So I think the 34,000 was before that. I didn't mark it.
I just know at home and on the farm, you compare year and year, it's gone up astronomically, my electric bill. And there's nothing to do with it.
No,
So I'm sure we're in the same boat here in the school system.
it's not quite doubled, but almost.
Yeah. Every bit of that.
Mhm.
And poultry houses I have, like you gotta have it.
Well, and they've raised the prices every year,
Mm-hmm.
and
They
we've had mild
too.
winters, and so it hasn't really, really, really affected people. But with this being a really cold winter so far,
You notice it.
oh yeah, you do.
Well, God
I'm
help
with
us on the
you. I'd
next
rather
bill
hold
then.
off with the solar. I just don't see it happening.
What's that, Mr. Harper?
The solar funding,
Here's
I think
another
all that's going by the
8,000.
wayside. That's my personal opinion. Whatever.
Well, and I thought that, rather than a solar field, that if we could put them on the roof, but they say they're not good on the roof.
Your roof has to be a certain age. So once our roofs, I think the only one that would meet that requirement right now is East Hardy Elementary School. And it's pushing it because it's they like them to be less than 10, and we're getting to where that one's going to be running out of its life. And you don't want to put them all on and then have to replace the roof and take them all off and put them, you know what I mean? It's gotta,
They say that
come
the
at the
solar
right time.
field is actually better than
Mhm.
if you're going to do that.
you can get to them.
I mean, that's the latest stuff,
Right.
So,
All right, well, this 36,000 was before all the cold weather. So just say
Yeah.
a little prayer for the next one.
maybe it was air conditioning.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I know we have to keep our kids warm when we can, when our equipment allows it, but, okay.
I'm sure there's things we can look at that I think we need to put it on hold for a little bit. But yeah, it is, like Mr. Harper said, even at your houses.
Well, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I burned a lot of wood during the cold spell.
That's really saves.
Yeah. I guess I'm through. No, I'm not through. I told you I was, and I already mentioned school where I was. Ladies, anytime you need to go to the bathroom, run up to the middle school. Check it out. That's all I'm gonna say.
They've been without a custodian too. The custodian that cleans that in the evening after athletic events, that person has not been there at all.
This is not a result of one athletic event or even a season of athletic events. You would be embarrassed and disgusted.
I will tell them to check.
That's all I'm gonna say.
It's not acceptable, is it?
It's bad.
The hygiene. Anybody have anything else? Any future agenda items?
Well, I think Janice would be one maybe down the road. to look, to look at. We discussed it, the electrical, the cost.
Sure.
I'm sure there's things we can do.
Energy savings.
Well,
I do have one other thing to ask. $100,000 check that came from the governor's office.
Mhm.
I was just, does that have to go to the track?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's it. I was thinking floor.
Yeah,
Okay.
It was earmarked for that purpose.
Okay.
so if we do see maybe we can track our electric costs for 3 or 4 months. And, well, even from the first of school, we can track it and see what's going on. And I know that they turn the electricity down, the thermostats go down at a certain time period. I mean, maybe they could turn them down like an hour earlier or something like that if someone's not going to be in the school. But,
Well,
it gets too cold and it takes that energy to heat it
Yeah,
back
back
up
up.
again.
Well, and like Mr. Hines said, our buildings are used day and night.
Almost
you know.
24/7,
We
really.
went
Yeah.
to school when I was there. It's amazing. I mean, after school activities are there.
Yeah.
Oh my, yeah,
Year round.
absolutely.
And it requires electricity.
Yeah, so all day
Mhm.
Saturday, all day Sunday, basketball.
I mean,
basketball
the
this
adult
Sunday,
farmer
wrestling's
meetings I
going
had,
on. They've had lots of events.
You know, winter or summertime, you need AC in the LGI room. You need AC in
Absolutely.
the cafeteria where you feed them.
Yeah. I mean, you can't just shut the electricity off because somebody's there.
Yeah, well, and they say if you pull the temperature down more than 8 degrees,
Then you gotta work so hard to get
Then
it
you-
back up.
that
Right.
you've lost
Right.
your
It's better
money
to
for
just-
cutting it
yeah.
down. You'd have been better to leave it even. Yeah,
Yeah,
So- um,
I think Barbie always gave us a spreadsheet of the utilities during the budget meeting. Maybe she can update those, get them to us.
Yeah, and she actually, she updates that live, and if any of you have that link, she shared it with all of you on the OneDrive. I'll have her email it out
Cover
again.
all.
And all you have to do is click on that link, and I think it's all of the utilities. You can click on tabs and see them, but she keeps it updated for you. So I'll tell her to send that again. You can go back and look at the changes.
Our utilities really take a big chunk of the budget.
we sure do.
That's why when you have those counties with school closures, that's so important, because buildings are expensive to operate. They really are. We're not there. I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying when you have extra buildings you're not using all the time, that's why there's such a push to close them down, because they're expensive.
Right.
Under announcements, our next meeting will be February 17th at 5 o'clock at the Board of Education office. So now we come down to mission statements and accomplishments.
The wrestlers had a good day at Viking Smash. Was that at Petersburg on Saturday? Both schools had a lot of people with medals hanging around their necks, and
Yeah, it looked like they did well.
mhm.
I'd like to say hats off to Mr. Keaton for his moving forward with the 10th grade English students at Moorfield High School. He's
Absolutely.
making leaps and bounds. That's wonderful.
I'll mention too that we had the robotics competition at Moorfield High School, and they said over 1,500 people in there, which was folks coming from just everywhere for this robotics competition. It's a really big deal, and our folks
It was a very big deal.
our teams are really talented and are at the top of that.
How did
pool of
they
talent.
do?
So I didn't hear how
I
believe
haven't
our
seen
team Was the
anything.
organizer for it,
so we
so
didn't compete this
could
time.
our
They
two
couldn't
coaches,
compete?
couldn't compete, but our team ran it, did it, at least the high school part
Okay.
did.
Oh, wow.
And they did a phenomenal job making the event happen.
Cool.
It was a lot of work to make that go.
According to the
It was
Examiner
a full
article,
house.
the home team The homeschool can't compete
Pete, right.
Okay,
because
so
of
they just-
homeschool advantage.
And we'll thank
Right.
all of the community members that helped them out too, because I know that they pulled from businesses for referees.
American
and, I mean, they
Woodmark
had tons of
loaded up their
community members
referees for
helping
them
out,
and had a
so
lot of people there.
that was
Yes.
very nice. Great to have that kind of support.
I heard the coach's food room was very popular.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to go into executive session to consider personnel
Yes, and legal matters.
and legal matter. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we're in executive session with a vote of 5-0.
What time is it?
16.
Ready? Motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to come out of executive session. All those in favor?
Aye.
So we're out of executive session with no action taken, 5-0.
All right, I'm gonna start with two separate ones. I recommend the approval of Emily Thorne as the Director of Child Nutrition Program for the Central Office effective February the 24th.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve Emily Thorne as the Director of the Child Nutrition Program effective February 24th, 2024. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And she's approved 5-0.
I recommend the approval of Harley Oren Staggers as the Council Human Resource Attendants for the Central Office effective February 4th of 2025.
So moved.
Second. He can have it. So we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve Harley Oren Staggers Council Human Resources Attendance effective February 4th, 2025. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries 3-2. And let's see, the aye, we have to specify who voted aye and who voted nay. The ayes are Melvin, Roy, and myself, and the nays are Janet and Doug.
Correct.
All right, I recommend the approval of the remainder of the personnel actions as presented for February 3rd, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the remainder of the recommended personnel actions. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And they're approved 5-0. Any other business to come before us?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So we're adjourned at 6:29.
How hot do you have to keep the laying houses?
Well, we're in there about, right now, 70.
Not
Now, these, see, I got pullets.
Oh, okay.
Okay.